Yeah, and I know that I wrote an article about this before, but sometimes there is this guilt associated with the thought that, oh, my house wasn't destroyed, but the house next to me was. My neighbor's house was destroyed. And there's this guilt associated with it because you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so fortunate that my house wasn't
Hmm.
destroyed. But then you feel guilty because your neighbor's house was, right? So there's always, and I guess they call it survivor's guilt, but I think that's true of so many things in life when we're looking at stuff. So it's hard to be happy that you were spared by something when you know so many people are suffering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to Her Unshakeable Confidence with dynamic mother daughter duo Simone and Olivia Canego, where they discuss the secrets of transformation and how to build bold confidence and unwavering resilience. From intimate conversations with inspiring guests to sharing their personal journeys of triumph and challenge, Simone and Olivia create a supportive space where every woman is encouraged to rise above her fears and love the woman in the mirror. Tune into Her Unshakable Confidence and join this special journey of connection and growth. It's like catching up with old friends who inspire you to be bravely and uniquely you.
Welcome to this week's episode of Her Unshakable Confidence. I'm Simone Canego,
And I'm Olivia Canego.
and we are so happy that you're here with us. Today, we're going to be talking about perspective because I really needed a shot of perspective today. I was having one of those really shitty days that, okay, what else can go wrong? First, my son wakes me up at 3 o'clock in the morning because his toes are numb. Okay. I think he's fine. Like that was
Huh?
just random. I know you don't know about this. Okay.
What? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And then I was like, I'm not the doctor in the house. Why are you waking me up? Plus, nobody's allowed to wake me up because I'm such a bad sleeper. Okay.
Yeah, that was
So,
rude of him.
yeah, that was a bad choice. Anyway, so then he woke your dad up as well. And I'm sure your dad said, "You're fine. Go back to bed."
Like, okay, I'm just okay. Anyways,
Okay. That's step one.
that is a situation for another day. Like, why did he? Whatever.
Okay. So then obviously he's leaving the house a little bit late because he didn't sleep well. And 30 minutes later, I get a call. I got pulled over. I'm like,
Did he get a ticket?
no, the guy let him off because he
What the
hadn't had an
heck?
issue
Both
before.
Emma and Noah didn't get tickets, but the first time I got pulled over, I got 2 tickets.
Oh, yeah. Well, you did not get pulled over by regular police. So let's just leave that on the back burner, okay? But
Okay.
anyways, so he gets pulled over, but they give him a warning, let him go. And
What a
then
lucky kid.
30 minutes later, he's back at the house. And I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I forgot my computer."
Actually, I had that fear this morning. Wait, Noah, you can't fault him. He's just having a bad day at that
He was
point.
having a bad day. So he went I think he made it all the way to school and realized he didn't have his
Oh my
computer. Came
god.
all the way home. Then of course I was like, "What are you?" Because I was like,
I
"Who's
would
coming in my house?"
Oh my god.
Okay. So then I was doing a class today. And that part was good. Like, and I'm trying to cook dinner for tonight because my mom's coming over and it's the Jewish New Year and doing all those things. So I'm like running back and forth between the kitchen and the class that I'm doing. And then a thunderstorm hits. So we had what I forgot to mention was at the beginning of the day, we didn't have power. So I had to
Oh,
start my class out on my phone.
cool.
It's all related to Helene, right? I mean, so then this thunderstorm hits and water starts pouring through the ceiling in the exercise room, which that hasn't happened before. And then what I also realized, I went up to check Ari's room, and the wall that we just replaced in Ari's room, water's pouring out through that wall. So I was like, why did I do that? Why didn't I just leave the wall open until we replaced the roof?
Yeah, I don't know why, honestly.
I don't
You
know
know,
because it
you
was
know
like
what you really
gross.
need? You need one of your kids to go into construction.
That's not going to happen. None of my kids like to get their hands dirty. Are you kidding me? I mean, think about it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, anyways, I was having a really big pity party because I was like, and then I couldn't finish the rest of the class because I was like, forget it. Like, I've got to go get the bucket for the exercise room, which it hasn't leaked in there before, and it's got a cork floor. So as soon as it gets wet, it's
Hmm.
destroyed. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. Like, this is ridiculous. And I was having a pity party, a legit pity party. And I needed a dose of perspective. And I got that very quickly because, as you know, Helene was a very horrible storm for our area. Sarasota, especially our barrier islands, got hit very hard. We were fortunate in that, really, I mean, our dock is messed up. Our seawall is messed up. We
But
had
all
water
things
in the
that
garage.
kind of were messed up before,
Oh,
or at
no,
least the
not like
seawall.
this. It's not like this.
Okay.
Anyways, it doesn't matter. It's perspective because I have a home. I have a roof over my head, kind of. I mean, it leaks, but I have a roof over, but I have a place to live and my house isn't destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So I had literally sent a message to our handyman saying, hey, it's leaking again. We need to, we need to take that wall back out, which I just spent $1,000 putting in.
Mm-hmm.
We need to take that wall back out again and just leave it out until they replace the roof in December. And he said, okay, no problem. It might take me a little bit to get there. I'm I'm preparing my house for FEMA to arrive on Saturday to look at everything
Jesus.
because we had a foot of water come into the house. And then he sent me pictures and my pity party was over because they lost everything, like all of their furniture. Basically, the drywall in his house is cut up to three, they cut out everything up to 3 feet. His cabinets have to go. Everything has to go. And I mean, honestly, flood insurance doesn't cover,
like
everything.
$1,000?
No, I mean, most policies cover $250,000, but everything is so expensive these days.
Yeah, $250,000 might just be the removal and the drying of the floors in your house. That might not even be the re-putting of floors. Because actually, one of my high school teachers posted on her Instagram that she had to tear all of the floors out of her house and put new things in. And I think that was the extent of their damage. But still, that could quickly add up to $250,000 in this economy.
I think things are very expensive right now and they're going to be limited supply. And it is just kind of crazy. But I have to tell you, like, that perspective, instantly I was like, okay, get over yourself. Okay, your roof is leaking. You're going to eventually fix it. Okay, you got to take the wall back out. You still have a house.
Yeah.
You still have a house. There are people's houses that like fell into the water, like gone. Like it's not there anymore. So I mean, sad that I needed that perspective because it's ridiculous. Like I know what happens, right? But I was just in that moment of like feeling sorry for myself. It's like, oh my gosh, there's water pouring through the ceiling. That hasn't happened before. What am I going to do next? And yeah, what I'm going to do is get over myself and just deal with things the way I know how to deal with them. I'm going to move forward and wait patiently for things to happen because things are much worse for other people.
Yeah, because I mean, in this situation, it's not first come, first serve. It's who needs it most.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. So what's going on in your life with perspective? So let's talk about, like, obviously my perspective was just like this moment in time of something that I needed perspective on. Let's talk about something that's going on in your life that you needed perspective on.
I just took my first law school exam. Did I need perspective on that? Actually, but I will say I did in terms of the grading policy. So I don't know, this is completely like seems so not important compared to what people are going through with Helene right now. But like, this is the focus of my life right now. Luckily, Nashville received very, very little damage. There was some flooding. I would say one of the underground garages at school still has some water in it, but no severe damage or anything here. I know people east of us, it's destroyed. I mean, the road for me to get to my brother's house in North Carolina is completely gone. Literally does not exist anymore. It's terrifying.
Did you watch those? Did you watch those videos?
I saw,
oh my god!
So like when I'm like, I feel like I'm complaining right now. Like I realize in magnitude to everything else happening in the world, whether that's like conflict overseas or like just dealing with a storm, this is very inconsequential. However, a big thing that I've been struggling with, and this is going to sound stupid, is like the curve of graduate school. So if you don't know, like at least in my undergrad experience, it wasn't curved the way it is in grad school, in the way of only a certain set of people can get an A. Not everyone can get an A. And usually that works to your advantage, but in easier classes, it doesn't work to your advantage. So you could get the same grade as someone else on an exam and just end up with a B in the class instead of an A. And that, I guess, is something that I've been like, oh my God, this is going to destroy me because I'm not competing against myself like normal. I'm competing against everyone
Hmm.
else.
That's interesting.
Hmm. So I've just like, I'm like still looking for like more and more perspective on the situation because it's like, yeah, what can I do besides just do my best? Um, and
I
you don't
think
want to
that's
like,
your answer. I think
yeah,
that's your answer. You just do your best. You work your butt off like you always do, and you just keep moving forward. And same thing, like I just was again going back to his name's Orlando, going back to Orlando and him sending me those pictures, and I just said, "Was all your furniture destroyed?" And he said, "Yes, but we will be fine." And I was like, gosh, what a great
yeah.
attitude. And you do see a lot of people walking around kind of like in a, just a daze right now because
I mean,
they don't know what to do. Like, what do you
what
do? And you're
can you
waiting on
do?
other, I mean, even waiting with FEMA and with
And that could take
insurance.
months. Like,
Yes.
in some ways, he might think of himself as lucky to get FEMA so early.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're coming to evaluate it. So I don't even know what that means, right? I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully, I don't know how they release funds and all that kind of stuff, but and it's pouring again, so I'm sure my room is leaking again. Oh my gosh. Anyways,
You know what? If my one takeaway from like everything, I don't want to be a homeowner. Like, what? There
yeah, that's a
seems
good
to be
takeaway.
no value in owning a home. Like, I could own an apartment building or own an apartment in an apartment complex, and they still would have to deal with like most of the maintenance stuff. Or at least I'd have to pay for the maintenance, but like at least someone would come and take care of it.
There is something about owning a home. First of all, you own a home for long enough. I mean, our home has probably more than tripled. No, almost tripled in value since we bought it 20 something years ago. I mean, so there is something really valuable to that. And just knowing that it's yours, like you take pride in that. But
Yeah.
I agree that with that comes so many great things. Like, okay, the roof is leaking all over the place. Where am I going to put the bucket first?
Like,
And
it's kind of crazy. I have people my age that like took a year or two off and saved up to buy a home here in Nashville instead of renting an apartment. And to me, crazy. Crazy. That's crazy. But also there are people with kids that I'm studying with, so
yeah,
understand.
so going back to the hurricane piece, again, perspective is looking at our window. So we live on a
Mm,
canal and looking at our window and seeing the damage across the way. I mean, there are boats in people's yards.
yeah.
There are boats in people's pools. Like they're not supposed to be there. And I actually just saw a boat removal right before we started recording. And like they came in with this crane. I mean, it was probably
They
kind of
had to
cool
do
to
a crane,
watch.
right?
Yeah, they take this
Oh, I
crane
just
thing
okay.
in and they pick it up on the crane and then they put it in the water. And then there's a like a tow boat that like then takes the boat away as long as it's kind of as long as it
Functional.
can, yeah, it still can float. And then they pull it in and to whatever place to fix the boat. I can't imagine the amount of repair work right now. Just like we had a junk company come to because we can't get trash service to do all the extra stuff because we're not on a barrier island and so much of the damage was on the barrier islands. So we had to pay a company to come and take all of our moldy stuff from in the garage to get rid of it. Those guys, they were supposed to be here at between 3 and 5. They got here at 9:30 and they still had another stop after that. And their home
Wow.
base was 2 hours away.
Wow.
So they are working like crazy, making a lot of money, but working like crazy. And it's not like they raise their rates because of it. I mean, it's
Oh, well,
just
I
that
don't think
they're
you
working like
can.
crazy. Oh,
Yeah.
people do horrible things when
Well, they
there's
do.
tragedies, but
But there's a lot of laws in place that should potentially protect that.
yeah, I think with
It
big
depends.
companies, I think you're
Yeah.
okay. So
But I mean, that's another perspective to look at. Like, this is such a horrible tragedy, but we've seen so much communities coming
mm,
together and helping people out, and without like being told to do so, I guess, which has been really cool to see.
yeah,
Um,
definitely, there are tons of people setting up pages to try to get support for friends who have had their whole everything destroyed and people coming to help and cleaning out houses, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot that people are doing, but there's just so much damage. I mean, the some of the barrier islands, it was like the amount of sand. So obviously, when the storm came, the water came in, but then it continued to
Mm-hmm.
push the sand in, and people have like 5 feet of sand inside their homes.
And how do you get rid of that? I mean, I saw up in St. Pete that like the beach line has been moved like a mile forward essentially, covering roads. And how do you can't even get rid of sand from like your bedroom after the
Oh
beach.
my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's all kinds of vehicles out there doing the work. A lot of the places are still completely closed off, like barrier
Hmm.
islands, unless you live there, you have to show your ID to get on there, then nobody's getting on those areas. And I saw a picture today of the Ritz-Carlton Beach Club on Lido, which is such a beautiful place. And
It's
the
another
outside,
barrier island.
yeah, it's a barrier island, and the outside is the pool area is completely destroyed. And they said it's going to take time to just be patient
Well,
with us.
yeah, you have to, if you think of all the processes that go through it, it's, you have to wait for like an evaluator to come out. You have to wait for insurance to give you your money, but also everybody else's. And like that's a big issue with insurance companies is like you have to, with storms isn't just like a one-time fire situation where they can give it to you directly right then. They have to figure out how they're going to divide the funds on everybody because unfortunately there's not unlimited money. Then you have to wait for the money to be distributed, and then you have to wait for like there's only so many construction companies that can come in and do the work, and then you have to wait for supplies. Like it's a long time. I remember some places were like so finally fixing themselves up after I forget the one that was in
Mm.
like 2019 or 2020,
I
but
mean, we've had too many storms lately. And actually, remember what was the storm where it ruined all of the signs? Well, I was just looking, I was like, oh my gosh, the signs are ruined again.
yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like it took so long because it's like there's a limited
I
amount of
think that was
companies out
Ian.
here. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it was Ian.
make new signs. So you got
Yeah.
to wait for that, and then okay, they have to do it over again. It's hard to I guess be a Floridian right now, or just like someone that is dealt with hurricanes because it seems like a lot of people don't care. I would say.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't know. Like I've mixed here. It's mixed here because like some people's families are very much North Carolina, Tennessee directly impacts about what happened,
Hmm.
or like they know somebody that knows somebody that lost their house, and then the other half of it is like we've never experienced a hurricane before. What do you mean it's that bad?
Well, it's interesting they say that because I sent some pictures of the boats being in the yard and the pool across the way. And I sent it to friends. They're like, what is that? I'm like, Hurricane Helene. And they were like, huh?
Yeah, they just
Because,
don't get it.
but it's interesting. When I was in Wales, when people would say, oh, where are you from? Oh, Florida. Oh, you have that big storm. Is everything okay at your house? And I was like, that's interesting. Typically, they don't see that news, but it had such a big impact on
It
our
was a
country
brutal
then. It
one.
was, yeah. I
It's
mean,
been one
the
of the
North
worst storms we've had in a
Carolinas,
while.
well, they said
Just
it's the worst storm in, I forget, 50 years in the US in terms of the amount of physical damage and the amount of geographic locations that it hit.
yeah,
I
I
mean, the
mean,
fact that North Carolina got hit like North
well,
Carolina did.
and I can rant about this forever. And like, how could you tell someone in Damascus, Virginia, or like, I don't know, Eastern Tennessee, that they're about to get destroyed by a
Mm,
hurricane, and they would believe you? I mean, regardless of the education rates in that part of the country, you could tell the most educated like lawyer in the world in the middle of Tennessee, oh, you're about to get hit by a hurricane. Why would they wouldn't know what to do. A, they wouldn't know what to do, and B, they wouldn't believe you. So I think a lot of
because
people
it's not believable. I mean, when you think
yeah.
about it, it's like,
And a lot of people
how is,
online, they're blaming people for not evacuating. But like, hello, why would you in a landlocked state even think about evacuating?
yeah,
Or
I
even
don't
like
think,
you live in this mountainous region, why would you think about evacuating? And so like that is kind of a lot of the destruction death toll we're seeing is very similar to Katrina in that way because people didn't know to evacuate or they didn't believe they had to.
I would tell you in Florida now people evacuate after Ian, they
Hmm.
really do go. And so and what they do now, which is very smart, and if people don't evacuate, then it's ridiculous. But on the barrier islands, they turn off the water.
Oh, people were like
And
surprised when I was talking about that. I was like, yeah, like they want people to get off the islands.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the damage from this one, if you
It's
were in your home,
unsurvivable.
you had to be rescued. There's
It is
just
unsurvivable.
yeah. And that's why the death toll is at like 180 people. And people are like, oh, that's not that much. From a storm, it should be zero, right? When they tell you
Amen.
get out, get out. But
Amen.
again, I agree with you on not on the educational part because I know nothing about education
Yeah,
in
that's what I'm
Tennessee. So
saying.
I'm
Just get
not,
rid
no
of that.
judgment, no judgment.
Well, like, but Northerners do judge.
Okay. Okay, fine.
Or
So
people on social media do judge and they blame like the Southern attitude about it. Hello, why would you think if you were in a landlocked state to evacuate?
yeah, I think
Basic
that's the
rule.
point, right? That he didn't understand. And to places that never had anything like that.
Ever.
Looking at
Ever.
Asheville, oh my gosh, it's just.
I mean, they're not like that far from the ocean, but they're pretty damn far from the ocean.
It's and you know I'm sure that there's runoff every year from the mountains, and they have some flooding, and you know not every year, but nothing like this where it
No.
just took homes away, and where it took them to Lake Lure. I mean, that was crazy to see the whole. Okay, we're getting really random here.
Sorry, I
On
could rant about this
perspective.
forever. But perspective, I think the storm is an important thing to look at right now with perspective. Because I keep finding myself, I mean, you're allowed to have pity parties. Don't get me wrong. You're allowed to feel emotions about the things that you're upset about. But it's important to keep going about your day. And if the way you can go about your day is changing your perspective, this situation is a great situation to look at. Well, that's not great, but like it's a great attitude changer because so much was lost in this and your situation could be so much worse.
Yeah, and I'm always a big believer in that your problems are your problems and they're valid. So give them emotion, like feel them. Don't like say, "Oh, well, that doesn't count." But it is good to have perspective on things because I can still be upset about the fact that my roof is leaking and I'm going to have to take down the wall again. I mean, that's just life, right?
Yeah.
But understanding that I am very fortunate, right? So having that perspective in mind instead of saying, "Oh, poor me, everybody needs to come help me." No,
Like,
that's ridiculous.
I am fortunate. I had a friend call me and say, "Did your plans change for Thanksgiving now?" Because like mine have totally changed. I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, I'm fortunate that I have a place to go home for the holidays because I know so many Floridians cannot say the same thing.
Yeah. I was talking to the insurance adjuster and or the insurance agent, and she was saying to me how the client that she just got off the phone with said, "Yeah, I need to file a claim." And she said, "Okay, well, what's the nature of the loss? Like, do you think it's from flood? Do you think it's from, you know, what part is it?" And she said, "I don't really know, but my house is gone." She's like, "What do you mean? Like, it's full of water?" She's like, "No, it's like literally not there anymore. It was swept away by the water, and it is gone." Hello, perspective, right? So I can be frustrated, and that's okay. I mean, again, like feel your feelings, right?
Absolutely.
But
Because
also
if you
realize,
don't,
well, then you're just smashing things down, and you're like, So you know, that's why I'm complaining here today, right? But I'm also saying that it was a good kick in the ass to say, okay, really, like be upset about it, but really, there are so many bigger issues. I mean, and look at the world. I mean, when we look at what's happening in the world right now, like there's so many so many bad things happening, and I have a roof over my head, and I am cooking a delicious meal for dinner, and you know.
I think on that note, though, like during this time, this is an incredibly hard time to be, honestly, a member of the human race. And I think it's important during this time to like, we're allowed to give ourselves grace to feel the emotions that we are feeling regarding the election or the violence happening overseas or even the losses from the hurricanes. Or I don't even know if you saw the thing in Atlanta, like the chemical plant that just blew up in Atlanta. You are you are allowed to give yourself grace to feel upset, even if it doesn't directly affect you, because you are a member of the human race and people just like you are being affected.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there are so many things happening right now, and putting it all in perspective sometimes is hard, right? I mean, you see war, you see death, you see destruction, and you're like, I don't understand any of it. So I think you just kind of have to be in your, focus on what you can do to make things better, focus on what you can do to make your world better and make the world around you better.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's a really hard world we live in. It
No, it,
is. And
it
I
is
mean,
a
it
hard
always
world.
has been. But when it kind of seems like these tragedies kind of pile on top of each other, it's really hard to like move through your normal everyday life.
Yeah, and I know that I wrote an article about this before, but sometimes there is this guilt associated with the thought that, oh, my house wasn't destroyed, but the house next to me was. My neighbor's house was destroyed. And there's this guilt associated with it because you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so fortunate that my house wasn't
Mm-hmm.
destroyed. But then you feel guilty because your neighbor's house was, right? So there's always, and I guess they call it survivor's guilt, but I think that's true of so many things in life when we're looking at stuff. So it's hard to be happy that you were spared by something when you know so many people are suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, I don't even know if I have an answer for that one besides like, you're allowed to feel difficult and complex and contradicting emotions. And
Yeah,
like,
I
it
think
is.
most days you do feel contradicting emotions, right? I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
in your regular everyday life, I think that we can be happy 1 second and then something happens and then we're like really sad and you're like, "Oh my gosh, why do I have such a big turn in my emotions?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's difficult. Living is difficult, but it's like, I don't know. It's worth it. Hell yeah.
That was a really non-powerful statement, just so you know.
I know, but okay. If you said that to any law school student right now, they'd be like, hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
This has
getting
been a
through your
rough
first
week. This is
exam.
midterm. This is my first midterms week. Okay. I've
Yeah,
had
I'll
a
give you
couple of
some
mentee B's
grace.
this week.
I'll give you some grace.
Ugh. And you know what? That's what I've been trying to do to everybody this week. I'm trying to give everybody grace because you know
Yeah.
what? It's a hard week.
And I think that is a very important part of perspective is that understanding that we have no idea what anyone else is going
Uh
through.
huh.
So give them some grace and give yourself some grace.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we forget sometimes when we're having an issue that we make it all about ourselves, but then we forget like there's a whole world happening around us and really focusing on the fact that we should understand that other people are going through things that we'll never understand.
Yeah.
Understand that we don't understand.
That's a good way of saying it, honestly.
Yeah.
There's just things in life that we won't get, but it's important. Like, you're not going to always be able to step into someone's shoes, but it's important that you like give them the space that they need to be able to, do what they got to do. I know that wasn't a strong statement either, guys. Like, my brain is okay. Like, I
I'm
have
not going to
done
pick on you
so
on that
much.
one.
I've done so much work this week.
I'm not going to pick on you on that one. So it is time for your calendar.
No more blame, shame, and guilting. That shit has no place in a loving and substantial relationship.
Okay, we didn't talk about relationships today, but maybe the
If you
relationship you
just
have
get
it
rid
with
of
yourself,
just
right?
get rid of no more blame, shame. No more blame, shame, and guilting.
Yeah. So if you're struggling with something, say it out loud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel guilty for something like that. Just talk it out. I talked it out. I feel better.
I think
That's how it
that's
works.
one thing in life I will always be is like an open book on that, things like that.
I wasn't for years, but I am now. I mean, I
I
say it how it is.
absolutely think there's no reason for me to hide what I'm going through, especially in the situation I'm currently in, because every single person that's like in my year is going through the exact same thing. And if like me being honest about how I'm feeling can at least like make someone be like, oh wait, this is like normal. Like that's great because like I needed that.
Yeah.
I always try to be what I needed, I guess is the best way of saying that. Like I
Yeah.
always try to be the person that I needed in that moment.
So with my work with Brand Builders Group, it's you're best suited to serve the person that you once were, right? So if
Yeah.
there's something that
Whoa.
yeah,
That was great.
yeah,
I love that.
that's brand builders. But that's why I serve women who struggle with self-doubt, because that was the woman that I was. And it's so important that we understand what our struggles are, that we share what our struggles are, and that we help other people get through their struggles.
I really, really like that. Like, you are best suited to serve the person you once were.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like so true, because like I go through life, like I wasn't always incredibly extroverted and confident in myself. I know, surprising, right?
It's definitely true, but it's a thing. Like, I think if we don't talk about things, it makes it so much more difficult to work through things, right?
Yeah. So like when I'm in classes, I try to like extrovert myself to the introverted people that I once was, in a way of like, hey, like it's not so scary to talk. Like it's so fun to make friends. And like, I don't know, like I'd love to make friends and some people don't. And when I was that person, like all I wanted was someone to like come up to me and be my friend.
And what you have to do is sometimes go up to that person and be their friend. And that's what I said to your sister today with your older sister, where she was like, oh, well, it's like, no, you have to be that person. Like, you can't just expect everyone to come to you. You have to do the same, because you never know. Like, that person might be super shy as well. And as soon as you invite them to something, all of a sudden it might be like, oh, wow.
I've been doing that so much this week. And like, everyone is so chatty. Everyone just needs like to feel like they're wanted to be in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You need to open that door. Good job, girl. Good job.
It's so fun. I love to talk. I'm a yapper.
Yeah, we know. We talked about perspective today. So, and lots of random stories, because, that's what we do sometimes.
Yeah, I guess.
So thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Her Unshakable Confidence. Don't forget to leave a review, to share it with your friends. If you found this to be a powerful episode, share it. It's the greatest gift you can give us. Absolutely. Is to keep coming back and sharing it with other people. We will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Her Unshakable Confidence with Simone and Olivia Canego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram at Simone Canego and at Olivia Canego. Till next time.